One thing I'll tell you though, really quickly, I was reading, I think it was a New York Times thing about how Gen Z dates. I know you and I both like love to follow along the random trends that the youngs seem to have going on. And it was talking about how, no, it was the Wall Street Journal. It was talking about how there's now a thing where cause to break off a relationship is this person doesn't match my aesthetic when it comes to dressing and how we go out together and how we present ourselves. So if you're like, I don't know how many commercials you actually watch since you can pay to skip them. But like I'm thinking about the commercial with the guy with the super loose t-shirt collar on a date with the chick that's in like a cocktail dress that looks like she came to a date at a nice place. And he's just like, I'm here to be comfortable. Yeah, so like that's a whole thing. So not only do you have student loan debt as a disqualifier, is your credit score good as a disqualifier? Do you work in tech or finance and make enough money to take me to Dubai once a year as a disqualifier? But now also just I am way more fashionable than you, and so you won't do as a disqualifier.
I think that if you're waiting on the Dubai trip, the fashionable part may fit in with that. I don't know if that's a separate part of the Venn diagram.
No, I think that's like, I don't consider myself to be a fashionable person by any means.
No, I don't. I barely know how to match most of the time.
If I was interested in splurging, like I could fly to Dubai once a year and shower my wife with, whatever the customary gift. I've never been to Dubai, so I don't know what the customary gift when you get there is.
Dubai chocolate.
But like I would not have anything in my retirement savings, but I could do it if I wanted to. But that doesn't mean I immediately have to be fashionable.
I thought you were going to go down the Scott Galloway rabbit hole of 45% of Gen Z, which is 18 to 25 in this case, have never asked a girl out in real life. I've
heard that one too. Well, so that one I don't think you can just blame Gen Z on. Like so I was in college right as Facebook became a thing. Like Facebook launched in 2004. I went to college in 2005. And I witnessed like several friends who would like be out somewhere, meet a girl at a party, and then go back to their dorm room or their apartment and message her on Facebook like, hey, I met you earlier. My name is so-and-so, like that kind of thing. And so if that started back then, that's a millennial thing.
Yeah, and I would be curious what that number is for 25 to 30. Yeah. Because when someone's in college, you're running into a lot more atoms of just in your regular life. But when you're 25 to 30, your social group is significantly smaller.
Well, maybe. It depends. Because like in my 20s, I was still willing to be out and about and go to things and do things like, I was literally just talking to my wife about this last night. Like I used to fly to Miami on a Friday after work, hang out, party, have fun, come back Sunday night. And it was so late that Sunday night turned into Monday morning and just roll into work from the airport basically. And somehow I could function that way.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting.
And I would like sleep at my desk sometimes, like leave wherever we were in DC. And instead of going home and going to sleep like a normal person, it was so late or so early, depending on which side you fall on. I would just go to the office and sleep at my desk for a couple hours and then just look like I got in early. So like, even in my 20s, like I was out and about, meeting people and doing things. But at 38, man, there's no way I can swing it.
I mean, I'm also seeing first of all, that sounds exhausting and also incredibly impressive. I could never function that way. Even I'm 30 years old now. And I also think there is, among people around my age, there is a growing rejection of the slot machine dating casino of dating apps where people are like, I've been on these for multiple years now. The results have not been good. Maybe I need to try to exclusively meet people in person and put myself out there more, which I think is useful.
I'm curious how much AI slop has also hurt the apps.
I'm sure it has.
There was already a phenomenon of, way too many women that weren't actually real, and they were somebody in a cell phone farm in Indonesia somewhere pretending to be, whatever, to keep engagement up so that these companies could keep their share prices high. But now I wonder how many of the profiles you see and the features and the people, male and female, are just AI slop.
Well, hang on. I don't know if the companies were doing that. I would need to see evidence on that. In a lot of cases, those were.
That's not a FMA kind of fact. That's documented.
Oh, for real?
Life.
Okay, because I thought a lot of that was pig butchering, which is that you'd have these farms of people that would try to get young, primarily horny men to send them Bitcoin and like get them involved.
Yeah,
in
no,
scams.
not just the Tinder swindler.
Okay.
I mean, literally, let me say it this way. Similar to how Facebook knows that a non-zero percentage of the profiles on the platform are not actual users, the apps, the dating apps are well aware that a significant number of the profiles, the active profiles that are messaging people on their platforms, are not legitimate and have done zero to stop it.
Okay.
So let me not say it as if they're part of the scam, but they also are not doing anything to stop it, which then means that, to a degree, you're complicit.
I almost got caught catching a falling knife a couple of years ago now on Match Group because that was kind of a pandemic darling. I think it IPO'd maybe in 2020. And since its IPO, it's down about 70%. And right now it is basically a value. It's kind of incredible to see it as a quote unquote value stock at 15 times earnings, and it'll pay
value trap.
It'll pay a dividend at 2.4%. But a lot of that has to do with the disconnect between monetizing users and also people want to get off the platform where, hey, this is a pretty good product for free. I'm frustrated if you want me to pay for it. And you're actively making the free experience worse in order to get me to go premium, which it's an incredibly difficult business model. Anything you need to get off your chest before we start talking about things like the U.S. capturing Nicolas Maduro, the 10% cap from Trump, and then maybe we'll do this movie theater story with Alamo Drafthouse.
I think that was more than enough. That doesn't matter. Let's talk about how we're going to make money.
Couple of quick hits I want to do before we get to the Maduro story, which we didn't talk about last week, but I still think is significant and undercovered in a particular way. Musk may need to stop going on podcasts. If he won't, but he goes on this show called Moonshots, and I sent you this clip. He is now explicitly telling people that they do not need to save for retirement because he is so confident that artificial intelligence will bring about high income for everybody. Is someone who makes their living helping people save for retirement in a lot of ways. What was your reaction to that clip?
Well, you saw my reaction. But
I was setting it up for the listener who's not in our Slack channel.
Yeah. I'm looking at this and hearing this guy, and I'm like, this is cute, right? The richest man, the wealthiest man in the entire world, is telling people they don't need to save for their future because the robot army that he is proposing to create is going to take care of it all for them. If that isn't a bearish signal that you should not be listening to this advice, I don't know what is. Like, that's the equivalent of Peter Thiel, not the wealthiest, but he knows all the wealthiest people in the world. He's on his way to being one of the wealthiest people in the world, telling college students, I will pay you money to drop out of college. Like, it's on the same level to me. Like, you're a person whose future is already secure. Peter Thiel's already, I don't know, knocking on 60 or something. So what does he care? But you're telling 18, 19-year-olds, I'm going to pay you to drop out of college because I don't think college is worth your time. Like, this is similar nonsense. Michigots, I'll call it.
I'm working on a theory that a lot of leaders in Silicon Valley have taken too many psychedelics and come to the wrong conclusion. Which sometimes people do it and they realize that they are at one with the universe and that they are like that they need to accept love and be in the present now. And I think sometimes it happens to tech leaders and they realize that like they start believing that they are God and they can see the future. And I've been That's been in the back of my mind a little bit when I see this. Anyway, you got a thought?
Yeah, I will just say to in all seriousness, there are plenty of people out there who have a loud megaphone, who have made compelling enough cases about not contributing to your retirement savings that people ask me about this occasionally.
Oh, wow.
And the one thing that I do say is we have no clue what the future holds 3-4 decades from now, right? So by contributing to a retirement savings plan that the IRS incentivizes you in the tax code to do so, you're buying an option on your future. So get the money into a Roth IRA so that you've got the ability to pull money out tax-free in the future whenever you need to. Put money into a tax-deferred retirement account, traditional IRA, 401k, whatever, to get the tax savings today, plus to have the optionality down the road in the future, and also get dollars into a regular brokerage account that's going to grow and does have some more tax favorability depending on what you're invested in. But those three different vehicles give you a level of optionality that whatever the world looks like 30 years from now, you'll be glad that you did it.
I'm surprised you're getting questions about it.
I'm not. The internet is filled with really stupid people who say things in a convincing enough way.
Yeah. My not heel turn, but when I stopped taking Musk a little seriously. So I read, I guess I should finish.
You just watched this guy try to wreck the government for fun, and you're going to take his advice on your future? Sorry.
No, this was, I think, one of the underreported stories in the Musk biography from Walter Isaacson, which was really enjoyed reading it. But basically, Musk is texting him. They became like Isaacson's texting him about different things, and Musk is texting him that he is drinking Red Bull and then taking Ambien. And this guy got a ton of heat for smoking pot on Joe Rogan because many of his employees can't. It's SpaceX's federal contractors, and here he is doing it in a very public way. But I was thinking, I'm like, is a leader and someone with a brain that you need to trust, this is an incredibly damaging thing to do to yourself. And it didn't get a ton of attention. But anyway, I was like, this guy is going to be right about a few things. It's probably going to take longer than he says they will. But on some of the things, he's in such a different planet than you that you got to look at it and move on.
You're bringing up another interesting point, though, and I'll make this quick. What you're describing is one of the tenets that I personally refer to as founder risk as an investor. So I've never owned shares of Tesla. I probably will never own shares of Tesla. And there's a couple other companies on the list, but since we're talking about Elon Musk, I'll keep it there. And the sole reason is because the entire company's value hinges on Elon Musk being alive. And so for someone who is so openly doing just ridiculous things to their body on a regular basis, I don't want to wake up in the morning and find out that my stock has plunged X% because Elon Musk just is in the hospital, right? Not even anything like catastrophic, but like just the fact that his health is being questioned right now would tank the share price. And so stocks like that are so culty or so founder specific, I stay away.
I want to talk about this call option bet that has been, from watching some of the flow, has been the largest I've seen. And we're recording this on Friday.
You love these whale call options.
I love a whale call option. And I can explain why. I don't think people are gambling when it gets into the tens of millions of dollars. And yesterday, there was a report that somebody put $74 million into short-term Taiwan Semiconductor options. Taiwan Semiconductor is what NVIDIA needs in order to make their chips. They are the factory that actually makes all of these microchips powering the AI revolution. Someone put $74 million into a short-term option that's due the following week. So that money, it is not like buying a stock. That money can evaporate if the price does not go up. However, if the price does go up, the slot machine ding, ding, dings. And should I have done the Black-Scholes model? Is that fair on options? Anyway, after the bell, Taiwan announces that it's going to invest $250 billion in the US. And not only that, reciprocal tariffs on Taiwan are going down to 15% from 20%, according to CNBC. Malcolm, feels like some stuff's happening in the open now.
This is similar to the conversation we were having about a poly market bet on the length of a press conference, and then all of a sudden it ends abruptly. This is a poly market bet on TSM, and all of a sudden the announcement shows up abruptly. I don't know where the strike price on this is because I don't pay attention to the options market, but I will say at the time we're recording this, Taiwan Semi is up firmly today. So,
what's interesting is let's do math on air. Strike price was $345, $7 premium. So it needs to get to 352. And right now, this morning, less than 24 hours later, Taiwan is the call is in the money, but not totally past the original premium. So I would imagine the option is worth more than it was yesterday. Anyway, yeah, I think that this is, I think sometimes when that happens, I go, isn't that interesting?
Well, you know what? They placed the bet on the same day that Taiwan Semi reported earnings, though. So it could have just been that because the sentiment on the semis has been very low for the last 3 months or so, and semi stocks have been selling off, this person was very bullish on the first of the, I guess I can call it a big tech company, the first of the big tech companies to report their earnings during this earnings season. And that was maybe what they were placing this bet on. I know this earnings report is going to be positive, and I know that the market's going to respond favorably. So I'm going to line up on TSM.
If you are the whale who made that option, or you have a guest idea for the show, our email is thistimepod@gmail.com. I would love to speak to the whale who made this bet and just really, really get inside their process and learn how they value fundamentals and where the wind's going. I think it's really interesting what they're doing. And this is actually, I will now speak seriously and non-sarcastically. I'm glad that it is out in the open. I think this is a case where it's good for the internet to know what's going on. One thing I want to talk about with the oil story and the Nicolas Maduro capture, and there are other long form podcasts that are going to be able to cover this much better than I am or you am. I almost said I am or you am. I am or you are. Because there's people who know much more about this market and what's going on in Venezuela than us. However, when I've been seeing this story in the news, Malcolm, the biggest thing that people are talking about is, what does this mean for oil companies? Because that's the immediate market tie, is that Venezuela has a ton of oil, and that is the open reason why.
Talk about things being out in the open.
Yeah, even Lindsey Graham was with Trump and basically like, yeah, we're going to help him with freedom. And Trump's like, it's about the oil. Which is when even Lindsey Graham is trying to calm you down a little bit on a regime change war, it tells you where we're at. So I'm watching.
Have you ever, just in general, have you ever spent time with a septuagenarian who didn't speak their mind at all times? Like, have you ever tried to reroute someone in their 70s only to have them say, no, that's not what I meant. I said what I meant. Like, it's funny seeing it happen out in the open because it's like everybody's Thanksgiving table.
I don't even reroute. Yes, I have spent time with them. I don't reroute. I go, oh, is that true? Oh, like you just, when they say something, you're like, sometimes all you need to say back is, oh, is that right? And they go, yeah. And then it sounds like you've confirmed what they're saying, but really you're just done listening to them.
This episode is sponsored by Capital Area Planning Group. Capital Area Planning Group is a fiduciary wealth management firm that specializes in helping high net worth individuals and families navigate the complexities that come along with managing concentrated stock options, multiple income streams, and an ever-changing tax code. While our team of certified financial planners are well-versed in all things personal finance, our areas of expertise include equity compensation, estate planning, and multi-year tax planning. At Capital Area Planning Group, we believe in pricing transparency. That's why our fees are posted on our website, right alongside the various services we perform on behalf of our clients throughout the year. If you're tired of receiving the same cookie-cutter advice from your financial advisor, then don't wait. Reach out to us today at capgllc.com to experience a better approach to wealth management. Again, that web address is www.capgllc.com.
Okay, so the oil thing, I think, is less of a story than the media wants it to be. I was talking to an anonymous listener of the show who has a very smart perspective on this, which is that logically, oil companies know that it'll take about 10 years-ish to get the oil out of the ground. Then they ask, what is the political landscape in the US in 10 years? Would they continue to have support for this? That's a big question mark. And then the second question is, will Venezuela honor the present contracts that they may sign today when this is a country that has a history of nationalizing different industries?
Well, so not only is it we don't want to go after that oil because it's going to cost us billions of dollars to invest over time to extract it, it's also the Venezuelan oil is heavier in weight and gritty and not as usable as the oil that we're already extracting here in the US. So it's spending a bunch of time and money to go get something we didn't really want that bad in the first place.
Yes. And anytime someone talks about it, it sounds like they're talking about a beer I don't want to drink, where I'll hear like, it's gritty, it's sour, it's heavy. The bigger macro story with this, and I think this is now a tremendous is the wrong word. That sounds like it's fun. A big geopolitical risk is that we have gone into a country and arrested a leader on US law. What happens if another country sees that, let's say Russia, and decides, Volodymyr Zelensky has been breaking Russian law with his actions in the Donbass and Crimea region. We're going to grab him and capture him because, the US has decided that if you're breaking our national law when you're abroad, we can go ahead and just grab the leader and put him in prison.
There's so many precedents that are being set with this. I'm no political scholar. I don't know exactly where this goes. But there's so many, general rules of engagement and precedents and just all around widely accepted practices that have been tossed out of the window that I'm curious what the world looks like 2028 and beyond as it relates to the US. And tangentially, I'll say really quickly, after spending a week in Canada, it's very different, the feeling interacting with people in one place versus the other. Like what you just asked is an open question on a lot of American citizens' minds. And I didn't really realize how much you actually feel it. And we all when you greet somebody and you say, how's it going? How are you? Whatever, there's this deep sigh and this pause and we all know what the pause is for. I didn't realize how much you actually feel that until I landed back in Seattle at the airport and was interacting with people at the airport and was like, man, this is so anyway, to your question, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't either. That's why it's an open risk. Are you saying when you were the people in Canada are happier?
Happier is the perfect word to use. And these are not all Canadians, right? This is everybody on holiday coming to ski at Whistler from literally all around the world. I'm meeting people from Kenya and Australia and wherever, and everybody's just so freaking happy.
They're not a little sad and constantly overstimulated.
It didn't seem like that there.
I want to talk about this bipartisan effort to cap credit card rates, because being presented in the news as a Trump idea, because he's been pushing for it, I think, as an executive order. But this is now the Trump, Josh Hawley, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren coalition coming together to cap credit card rates at 10%. And we're not just going to focus on the politics. There's some market math in here I want to discuss. This is now affecting some of the large banks and credit card distributors, makers. It's kind of interesting. The idea of capping rates, I think this is extraordinarily low, and for a reason I'll get into. But this move might actually happen. There's bipartisan support for it to cap credit card rates in some capacity. What's your reaction to it?
Yawn.
All right, let's do another topic. I got movie theaters as well.
I like
This is, hang on, Malcolm, we got to work on kayfabe. You keep talking about kayfabe with the AI stuff. Kayfabe in podcasting is like, oh, I'm getting your reaction to something, even though we've slacked about it. Maybe I'm getting it for the first time, even though I kind of know. Like, I'm trying to be honest with the show.
My yawn is not to you. My yawn is to Elizabeth Warren and Donald Trump.
Okay, I took it personally.
Yeah, no, there is no way that Elizabeth Warren and Donald Trump can and will stay aligned on anything. I'm sure that's not a surprise to anybody listening to this that I would say such a thing. You're probably thinking it too. So let's just start there. But also, how is this going to help solve the affordability crisis? If you're having to use your credit card and carry a balance for a meaningful period of time on said credit card, the interest that you are paying on that card isn't your primary problem. It's that you have more month than you have money. So help people make more money. That's how you solve an affordability crisis. This is nonsense.
It's going to cut off a lot of people because credit card makers, and from the rough AI math I did when I was talking to my LLMs when I get lonely about which card makers are okay and which ones stop making an operating profit. It seems like if you're JP Morgan Chase, you're all right. Citigroup, you're all right. Those are some higher credit score borrowers generally on those cards. I think it's your Capital Ones, your Discovers, those get hurt quite a bit. But what would end up happening, I think, if you did this, the credit card makers would come in and say, fine, we're going to jack up the fees, or we're just going to cut off everyone who doesn't have a super perfect FICO score.
Well, that's not going to happen. That would wreck your business model because you actually need those people to keep the whole thing running.
Okay.
So I don't know if or what rewards card you choose to carry around in your pocket, but the Chase Reserve or Chase Sapphire Reserve and then the Amex Platinum card specifically, those are the two that allow you into all the lounges and get you exclusive access to the US Open and everything else that, happens. The benefits, the $3,000 a year worth of rewards that they tout on all of their commercials come from the interest being collected on the people who are closer to subprime borrowers who will carry tens of thousands of dollars of balance at a time and pay the minimum monthly payment. That is how that's how the operation functions. And so if you cut those people off, that means you then have to cut the benefits. And people like me will say, well, shoot, I'm not paying $800 a year or whatever it is to carry this card anymore, because going to the lounge 3 or 4 times a year is not going to cut it.
So there's a Vanderbilt study where I think they got this, where this policy had sort of brewed from. And they also talked about just the sheer amount of advertising these companies do. And the argument is if you restricted the interest rate a little bit, maybe they would cut off some of the advertising budget.
Oh, well, now I'm in favor.
2023, Capital One did $4 billion worth of advertising.
That probably all went to Jennifer Garner, too.
Nike did 4.1, Coca-Cola did 5 billion. So they're saying, why are we spending billions and billions of dollars advertising these super high interest loans to people when if we created some restrictions on it, then maybe you would force a little bit of discipline in that regard?
Yeah, no, that's nonsense. Then I'll just go trade to the other. I'll go to Wells Fargo or Bank of America and ask them for a credit card.
They all have the same restriction.
That's so unrealistic, though, to think that if you're telling me that I will no longer receive 3 mailers a week to my home address offering me a credit card with a $50 rebate if I spend $50 million on it, I support this message. If that's the outcome, then I'm all for it. But realistically, the marketing isn't the thing. It's the fact that the people need more money. Like, let's solve the action. The US government has a very bad habit of trying to treat the thing after it has already happened rather than trying to get in front of the diagnosis in the first place. And it drives me crazy. Like, as a person who likes to think that I'm pretty logical about most things, the way that the US approaches most things as a government is so frustrating. Like, we're debating whether kids should be allowed to take GLP-1 drugs and at what age they should be allowed to start taking them, instead of getting kids healthier food options or making lunch and breakfast mandatory in the schools so that the kids can eat a healthy lunch instead of eating from their local Dollar General or Family Dollar if they live in a food desert. Like, let's get grocery stores closer to where people live so that we don't need these diabetes drugs is actually what they're supposed to be treating, not I want to be skinny on Instagram. So like, let's focus on actually solving the problem instead of just arguing about the treatment.
Our guest today has been Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Thank you for your time. I agree. I think it becomes, I think it's tough to react to that other than saying we live in a politically incompetent system and the food manufacturers have slowly poisoned a lot of people, and we should encourage people to be a little bit more active at a young age than take GLP-1s. I'm going to bring this back to credit cards because I have a couple more thoughts on it.
Please do.
What if this headline was at 30%? So I remember back in I think it was back in Obama time, they said payday loans cannot be 400% a year. We're taking it to 36%. Mm-hmm. And there were some arguments, I think, where it was like, oh, this will cut off access to credit. Pretty much everyone was like, you should not be charging someone who is living month to month on living on month to month paychecks, a $400 per year interest rate. So at some point there is agreement that you should cap interest rates on consumer loans. And what if they said 30%? What if we were at 20% for these credit card rates? I think they could have had a stronger case if they came in at a higher number than 10%.
Well, that was the job of the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Rest in peace.
That was brought to be by Elizabeth Warren and murdered on day one by the Trump administration. So what are we doing here? Yeah. Like, so anyway, I think that a cap on credit card interest rates does make sense. Should that number be something like 20%, 25%? I don't know. Maybe. I think it needs to be high enough to make it not so enticing for people to consider credit cards a part of their monthly or annual budget, and they just are going to run with it because it just is what it is. And it doesn't hurt that much because the interest rate isn't so high. I don't think it should hang around in that territory, but I also don't think that you should be able to charge 30, 40, 50% interest on any loan ever. I mean, you're basically putting loan sharks to shame at that point.
I want to close out with this story because this is a company that is near and dear to me, and I've never seen a business. It is about a business who has broken a brand promise, and that is Alamo Drafthouse. Alamo Drafthouse is a sort of a niche movie theater chain that has, I shouldn't even say niche, it's pretty wide. Alamo Drafthouse is a big movie theater chain, and one of the promises is that if you go to a Alamo movie, people are not going to talk or text during the movie, and this is something they broadcast throughout previews. It's been since their basically founding. If you want to have people screw around during the movie, go to another theater chain. And slowly they've started to introduce mobile ordering as they try to essentially cut labor costs. So before the movie, don't have a waiter walk up to you. Just put in your mobile order and then we'll bring it to you. Now, their management has decided we're going to do mobile ordering during the movie. So talking and texting and scrolling social media is banned. However, during the actual movie, we want you to get out your phone to order a refill of popcorn. And every single comment from their customers I've seen about this is negative. And part of this is because they have trained everyone who goes to the theater to follow a certain rule. And now they're saying, we want you to break this rule in a way that only helps us, that doesn't create more value for you, the customer. And I've been surprised, first of all, to see them do this, but also I was thinking, I have never seen a company break a brand promise like this, except Southwest Airlines, when they specifically took away free bags, where for a long time, Southwest advertised, we love you. Our ticker symbol is LUV.
I thought you were going to say assigned seats, because everybody's a nobody and nobody's a somebody on Southwest with no assigned seats.
That one, I think free bags was significantly more popular and no assigned seats. So they took away both of those. However, with an airline, you kind of have to, like, if you have a certain route from Detroit to New Orleans or whatever, like, and you have the nonstop, At the time you want, you're going to take that route. However, with a movie theater, you have significantly more options. And to me, I saw this as a complete sign of desperation, Malcolm, because, Alamo was close to Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2021. And clearly they are just doing this for money, but it's kind of end stage. It's a kind of an end stage move to try to bring this on your customers.
So this is interesting to me because I have been curious for 5 years probably whether the movie business is even investable at this point. I don't own any stocks with any direct interest in any movie theaters, but like when you think about Netflix wanting to buy Paramount so badly, Warner Brothers so badly, what's in it for them? Is there movie theater distribution they want to get access to? Is there studio production capability they want to get access to? Why do they want this so badly? And one of the things I've been curious about is if somebody has an interest in reinventing the movie theater model, because again, talk about coming together for live experiences. The movies used to be a thing that just, even though we're sitting in silence in the dark for 2 hours, you're experiencing it at the same time with 200 of your closest friends.
Sometimes heartbreak feels good in a place like this. Yeah, I got you.
So I've just been curious, like, is it possible to bring this thing back? And to your point, I've felt like it's probably going to be a nichier, hip, cool kind of place like an Alamo Drafthouse, which we do have here in DC and I've experienced a few times. But you're telling me they can't get it right. Like, I have experienced being annoyed when the server comes around and instead of making you fill out your order on that little chit card they used to have, now they have the Toast keypad that they type on, and they're talking to you all loud and shining a light in your face from the Toast keypad. So I've been annoyed at that.
They do that during previews, though. I'm okay with that. That's during previews.
They do it during the movie, too. So it used to be, there was a time when they used to only come to talk to you about food during the previews and when the lights were slightly up. And then they started coming around halfway during the movie, walking around and asking questions and talking to people to see if you want any more of whatever. And I was already annoyed then. Now you're telling me it's being encouraged and you're going to do it from your cell phone. That's a whole other annoyance.
Okay, to be fair to Alamo, I've not seen that in Denver as much. To me, what I am seeing this is also just, I think there's some stupidity in here to not focus on your fastball. So to your point of doing a niche premium product, when I look at Alamo's bar menu, they don't do a ton of premium spirits. They don't do a ton of premium wine. And you figure if 5% of the people who come in on a Saturday night like good wine and you have the ability to serve it to them, that's how you can actually make a good amount of money. That's how restaurants make a lot of money, is you sell some expensive cocktails and wine to people who like that, who are willing to pay for it. And none of that is on the menu. And that's something where it's just like, boom, immediate high margin thing you can try. And now they're trying this thing that hurts, like it demoralizes your customers, it demoralizes your employees because you're just looking at a labor expense line item without thinking about 2 to 5 years into the future.
I want to, before you leave the line for the bar.
Sure.
You had an idea that I thought was genius.
Oh, the sports?
No. The fill line on the glasses for folks buying at the bar.
So I promise I'm not an alcoholic. This is a value thing.
Okay.
So I'm
not an alcoholic. I'm just cheap. Okay.
What I've noticed at the Alamo is that I will, you know what? I'll admit it. Sometimes I like to watch a movie and drink a glass of wine. It brings me an amount of enjoyment. So I'll have my glass of Malbec at the Alamo. And what they do is, first of all, they often don't even serve the wine in a red wine glass, which I should be cool and flexible, but that annoys me. It's in the thin glass. And then the second thing is it feels like you're sometimes getting different amounts of pours, and it's a very light pour, where when you go to a restaurant, you're like, this is a glass of wine. At the Alamo, you're like, I've gotten slightly more than a shot glass full of wine. One of my friends is a big, he loves whiskey, and we were seeing one battle after another. So he's like, I want to get some whiskey neat. And they literally just splashed a little bit in the glass, and then we're like, here you go, that's $15. Yeah. So people who are buying that type of thing, it's similar to basically there's no greater expression of value than the amount of meat you get on a plate when you order a steak. The same is true when you sell alcohol. What you do is, and I saw this in at one bar, is they have the fill line for when you get a glass of wine, they have the little fill line on the glass. And then the bartenders are very careful to pour a little bit above that. Yep. Because you definitely don't want to go below that. And when you fill just a little bit above it, it's like what's the overpriced burger place that fills the fries up and then it explodes out of the Five Guys. It's the Five Guys move with fries. You do that a little bit with alcohol, and people feel like even if you're charging them more, they feel like they're getting a great value. So
I think that's genius. Like I had, as a former bartender, and I've seen how closely people watch the way you pour their drink to make sure you're not shortchanging them. I find that a genius move for any place that serves alcoholic beverages. Put a line on the glass, fill beyond it, and you've now just made an implicit promise to the people that if you come here, we're going to hook you up.
Yes.
So don't go to the place across the street next time you're thinking, where do we go? When my wife says, let's go somewhere different, we always go to the same place. And I say, no, this is our place because they always hook us up. Like that makes a tremendous amount of sense.
And the opposite is happening at Alamo, where people, I follow the Alamo Draft House subreddit. People are like, I'm getting less chicken fingers. I'm not getting as great of a deal as I used. That means something to people. When you take away your chicken fingers, it's not good. And then on movies being investable, those are all my thoughts on Alamo, unless you have more. I was going to bring this back to a publicly traded stock as we close out.
I was just thinking in relation to a non-publicly traded stock, I have that same problem with Chick-fil-A. Why don't you sell me an 8-piece and throw in 9? Because sometimes the nuggets are a little too
small,
wonky. Yeah, okay. There's this little teeny nibble that made its way in that counts as an 8. Give me 9 all the time, and then I don't care if there's one that's just a little, like, those are the kinds of things that the food is more the thing that I notice. The steak, to your point, not so much how did they pour my drink.
I see it with I was at a barbecue place a couple weeks ago, and they put the meat on the scale in front of you, and the meat that I was getting, I got like a half pound. There was a little bit over, so the guy takes the big knife, chops it, and then takes away the trimmings. And I'm like, my guy, you're not doing anything with that anyway. You just screwed me, man. Even though you're giving me what you promised.
Okay, so we're really getting into food at this point, but there's a place I've seen do the opposite.
Yeah,
they lift it up, weigh it, ring it, and then drop the piece back down and give it to you. So maybe you're just going to the wrong barbecue place. You come to DC, I'll take you to the barbecue place. They're a little more generous, and then you'll feel like you got more bang for your buck.
I'll take you up on it. Movies not being investable, I want to make it clear. I'm starting to have a change of heart on Paramount Skydance, even though I've made the case to you on the show, where I'm like, they are in bidding wars for assets that it may be a sort of monkey's paw wish if you get Warner Brothers Discovery for whatever, $30 a share. Let's make it $40 a share because now we're in ego mode. But the movie company that I'm paying more attention to is IMAX. And that's one that I have sort of, I looked at it and I didn't want to put money in with the simple thesis that if your sauce is so great, then why is your return on invested capital so low? Which is the systems you're putting in, shouldn't these be generating huge amounts of profit? And for most of their existence, their return on invested capital was below 10%. So I was like, there's got to be better opportunities here. Since I've started wondering that, the stock went up like 56% over the past year. And the reason is they hold a dominant share of the movie theater business. They own 1% of the screens. They do about 4% of the movie tickets. So let's say Netflix gets Warner Brothers. The movies they're interested in releasing is the IMAX stuff. It's a big Batman movie. It's the big superhero movies. The smaller indie stuff that maybe makes like 20 to 50 million, that's the stuff they want to put straight on Netflix. So in that sort of like in the eventized movie space, IMAX wins. In the K-shaped economy, where it was Delta came out and said we're really just working on customers in business and first class. They make up the same amount of revenue as everyone else in the back of the plane. IMAX, if you want to go to a movie, it's $30 to go see an IMAX. Okay, that's how I want to see it. That's how those at the top of the K want to go see their movies in the biggest, baddest screen. So that's one that I want to be careful not getting into it while it's ripping, but this is the best in class product to go see a movie. The risk is a lot of their growth has been in China, and there's a lot of other premium large format screens that they call FOMAX, I think, fake IMAX, that is also gaining traction. So that's why I'm a little mixed on it, but it may be investable.
Maybe the Sphere is going to bring a new location to a desert near you, and that is the way that we will go experience fully immersive movies going forward when that big feature you're talking about does break.
That's the so Sphere Entertainment, I promise I'll stop in a sec. That was also one where I'm like, this is awesome, I should buy stock in this. And then I looked and I'm like, why am I getting regional sports networks combined in my Sphere, James Nolan? This doesn't look interesting to me. And then the stock doubles. Anyway, welcome to 2026. I am at Rick So Slick on X. You can find me there. I'm also on LinkedIn, Ricky Mulvey. Malcolm is at Malcolm on Money. If you have feedback on the show, we'd love to actually get it as we're bringing this thing off the ground. Rating and reviewing the show specifically on Apple also really helps us out. You can rate us on Spotify if that's where you listen. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Information shared in this recording and by its guests represent the views and opinions of the guests and does not represent the views or opinions of the host. This content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. This content is not, nor is it intended to be a substitute for professional financial advice. It is always recommended that you seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your personal financial situation.